Yes, thank you.
Okay, then everything will work. So thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Erika Geser-Engleitner, and I have the possibility to tell you something about my experience, a research mission in Ireland. Some facts: before I had a 4-week mobility for research stuff. The host institution were TUS Limerick. My host was Shane O'Sullivan. You can see him here in the picture. I was in Ireland from middle October to middle November. What was my research interest? I was interested in how do older people manage their everyday lives in rural areas in County Limerick? And what do they intend to do if they need support and care? You have to know that for the past 25 years, I have been doing research on assistive systems for older people. It was therefore of great interest to me how it works in the rural regions of Ireland. So why this interest? One of the biggest challenges of the next 20 to 30 years in European Union will be how older people with support and care needs will manage their daily lives, especially in rural areas. I think that intensive research activities are needed to meet this challenge. And the topic conditions for successful aging, transnational care work, and rural development is part of the Run EU Research Area 7. So some details about my field access. I rented a cottage in Ballingare. That was my accommodation. You have to know, for old people which are not Irish, Ballingare is about 30 kilometers from Limerick. It is really very rural. The nearest shop was 3 kilometers away. The nearest public transport was 8 kilometers away. And the region is also called the Golden Vale. And the first words I learned there were rolling pasture lands. I didn't use it before and I didn't need it before. The region is known for the production of dairy farming. So that you can understand where I was, and it was very important for me to get the results, to stay myself in a rural area. Therefore, I needed something for my traveling. I rented an e-bike. That was my means of transport. And so I talked with older people in shops, on the street, in garages, in inns, in pubs. Here on the picture here on the right-hand side, you can see the 2 guys. That was the garage. I was there for I think more than 2 hours. The rain came, the rain stopped, and we talked about my topic. And the one guy, the left one, has, for example, 20 brothers and 20 sisters. So it's the rural area in Ireland are very affected by the church, and at the moment you can see it. So I talked with social service providers. I did research on the internet in the libraries, and every data I get, I discussed with colleagues from TUS. And now I want to tell you something about my results. Living in rural Limerick means being dependent on the car. Older people drive cars, even though they have difficulty walking because they don't have another chance. They rely heavily on neighborhood help. There are services such as home nursing or mobile support services. However, there are very few hours a week, and they don't want to get in a nursing home. All of the people I talked to, and they always said, "Oh heavens, I really hope that it's not necessary for me to go in a nursing home." Almost all respondents hope to get help from their children, although some of them live further away. And what for me was very interesting was that care workers from Eastern European countries play no role in Ireland. They are for Austria, for Germany, and for Switzerland, for example. It's very important to have them. Without the Eastern European people, our system would have breakdown. Some more results. The danger of loneliness and isolation were mentioned several times. And I think in this field, I will create some research projects with partners. Maybe it could also be interesting for Portugal, I think for all European countries. Loneliness and isolation is really a theme in this research field. I visited man sheds, walking groups. They are very important to stay healthy and maintain social contacts. The state support of older people in need of care differs between Austria and Ireland. State support is higher in Austria. And so for me, the political system behind to get them known, to understand them, is very necessary to interpret the details right. In summary, I have gained a comprehensive knowledge of the lives of older people in rural Limerick. The main outcomes of this mobility for me, I could develop networks with providers of support services for older people and a transfer of knowledge from and to TUS colleagues about social system in Ireland and Austria were impact. On the right-hand side, you can see the picture of my host at the University of Limerick in TUS. I was there with my host Jane, and we had a lot of discussions with colleagues. It was very interesting. Or you can see the name, the picture above is there are the specific house types where elderly people live. I got in contact with them, and it was really very interesting for me. Some evaluation results. The quality and appropriateness of the mobility, the two-way transfer of knowledge between the researcher and the host, and the quality of the supervision and the integration in the team was very high. On the right-hand side, you can see a picture of a discussion with colleagues from TUS. And here I really want to thank my colleagues from TUS, Bridget, Catherine, Carol, and especially Shane. They always supported me. They phoned to me and asked me, do you need help? Do you need something? And the most important thing were that I could discuss, I could validate my data with them. What does it mean? What I've heard and so on, because that's not so easy. Impact. The impact was not only achieved, but exceeded. Numerous field contacts with older people, social services, and discussion of findings with colleagues from TUS provided a very comprehensive insight in a short period of time. A detail beside the picture on the right side, where you can see the caravan. That's really, not really, that's Rescale. I always pronounce the name wrong from this town. It was very interesting for me because the population, more than 50% are travelers. And I did a research study about the travelers or the ethnic of the Roma in Austria. So for me, it was very interesting to get in contact to them in Ireland. And I had there some really funny discussions and meetings. The synergies for future collaboration could be established and intensified. I was able to network not only for myself, but also for colleagues of mine. And I was looking forward to future joint projects. Dissemination of the results, what will I do with the results? I already talked to my colleagues about my research mission. The results I presented to students, and in January we have organized a meeting with our local decision makers because they are very interested how the social systems, the caregiving system in Ireland works. Some quotes, finally, for example, that was very interesting for me. Once an old man asked me, "Where are you from?" I said, "From Austria." Then he looked around, lowered his voice and said, "Ah, where Hitler came from." Yes, Hitler is a part of our history, but it was for me interesting that I met a man in Ireland who asked me. Another one, it's very easy to be brave in Ireland, I would say, because I cycled, as I told you already, and I often said, "Oh, you're brave, you ride a bike." And then I answered, "No, I'm not brave, I'm a foreigner." It's really not common to cycle. That could be interesting for the tourism, my speakers before. cycling in Ireland could be very interesting for the tourism too. The last one, finally, you can see in County Limerick, you can see a lot of signs, community alert. You can see it on the right side. And all the houses, most of the houses have dogs. For a cycler, it's not that easy to get with them. And so I asked a colleague of mine in TUS, why do so many houses have a dog? Is it so dangerous here? And she answered, no, it's not dangerous in County Limerick. We love dogs. And when you come home, someone is happy. So that was my conclusion. I thank you so much that it was possible to do this research mission, to stay in Ireland, to get in contact with my colleague, to could do the network. And I can only appreciate it for our colleagues. It's wonderful to have this opportunity.